I return from visiting with the client. I meet with one of our landscape architects at the office, and one of my goals is to inform them about the project but not inject a lot of creative ideas that I may be having, because it's really their job to come up with the creative ideas. And so we'll sit down and I'll share my general notes with our landscape architects, and then we'll start to take a look at the house plans and the plat of survey and those different documents that I collect at the first visit. We're here right now with one of our landscape architects, Kyle Coleman.
You know, once I meet with Bret at that initial, or after that initial meeting that he's had with the client, I'll blow up the plat of survey to a usable scale, and I'll go out to the site, and what I'll do is I'll take critical measurements. Basically, the most important is grade information, elevations that will affect drainage and grading on the site. That's very critical to evaluate up front, because you want the final grade of the site to be, you know, dead on and perfect once we're done. The other main element that I'm looking for at a site visit are any architectural details significant that I can draw inspiration from, because it's difficult with a new construction site, because it's just a house, basically, just a house and a blank slate. So I'm looking for inspiration mainly off of the house, you know, brick, stone, architectural kind of arcs, anything I can grab inspiration. The next process, or part of the process, is kind of the conceptual plan, and that is what you're looking at here. What I've done is I've started to lay out key elements that the client is looking for, you know, hardscapes, driveway, front walkway, you know, back patios. On this particular house, we have a couple patios with a couple step systems down to the pool area, with a generous area next to the pool that they can, you know, use when they're using the pool. Also on this plan, I'll start to think about significant plant locations, the larger trees, the smaller kind of accent trees, bed lines, that sort of thing that will really help to complement the house and also our landscape. Once we get to this process, for me to come up with this plan, I'd put at about 2 to 3 hours of intense, you know, thinking about how everything's going to fit together. That's another critical aspect of this process, is kind of how all the pieces and parts fit together, and you know, how they're functionally going to work, and how they're aesthetically going to look once they're all installed. So the time it takes for me to go from the site measurement to the conceptual plan, I'd say, is about a week. It takes me a little time to digest all the information that I've collected at the site and turn it into something usable, you know, as far as figuring out the elevations on the site and you know, basically where key elements of the landscape design can go on that site. About a week's time. The next step in the process after the conceptual design is done is to meet the client, see what they have, see what their thoughts are, see how they feel about the overall flow of the design. If there are a lot of comments and changes, it may take me a little time to revise it and then go to the final plan, which is this drawing. So after the initial measurement, site measurement, I will take all information back and start on the conceptual design. What I'm really looking to do there is lay out all the hardscapes, the driveway, the front walkway, patios, steps, walls, everything that is solid that's going to kind of set up the bones of the project. And that's very critical because everything else kind of stems off of that, the plant beds, that sort of thing.
Favorite parts of my job is taking a new plan to the client for the first time, and I know Kyle enjoys that as well. We get to unroll this beautiful new plan in front of the client and watch the look on their face. And more often than not, it's a good look. So we unroll the plan and we really start to talk about the hardscapes. And Kyle, why do we talk about the hardscapes first?
The hardscapes always come first because it's very critical to the overall design, setting the grades and making sure all the pitches are right and the drainage on the property all are determined by the hardscapes.
We don't want water flowing across walkways. We don't want water flowing across driveways, freezing in the winter and creating ice. And also, once all of the hardscapes are done, then the plant beds really spin off of that. Plant beds are really secondary, and they frame all of the hardscapes. So we start with the hardscapes, and then you do go off and start to talk about the plantings. And when you're designing plantings for a new home or a renovation, what are some of the things that you consider?
The first and foremost, basically what the client likes. If they've had history on other homes, on plants that they love, I'll ask them about it and see if they'll work in the design.
It's interesting because oftentimes one of my favorite questions is, what do you dislike? Because we really learn a lot from the things that people don't like. For example, somebody may say they don't like roses, and we'll go, why? Well, I don't like thorns. Okay, so not only can we eliminate roses from their plant list, but we can eliminate anything else with thorns. So that's kind of you learn a lot from what they don't like as well.
Right. Another important consideration for plants is the color of the plant, the flowers and the foliage. Have to make sure that it complements the house as well, the colors and the stone and the materials of the house. It all has to coincide, work together.
Works together. So after we present the preliminary plan to a client, then we're going to spend about an hour to an hour and a half doing that. And we actually take the most notes at that period of time. Because again, throughout this process, I didn't try to set any vision for Kyle other than some of the general things that clients ask for. So this is really the first time the client gets to see any type of a vision. So as people see the plan, they give us a lot of feedback and it sparks a lot of comment. And so it's at that first design meeting where we really gather the most information about the plan itself. And we take a lot of notes, and then we go back to the office. And Kyle goes back to the drawing board and modifies the hardscapes, and then really starts to let the planting plan evolve and all of the other the more aesthetic things. Hardscapes are aesthetic to an extent, but they're very functional. The planning process kind of wraps up with that real aesthetic part of the project, the flowers, the fences, water features, fire pits, and things like that. So, and that's really how the design process evolves. And then we'll take that final plan back to a client for evaluation. And it's usually at this time where we can start to present our pricing so that the client can begin to evaluate the budget for the landscaping. Kyle, what's trendy? What are you seeing as the hot landscape elements?
Sure. What I've seen a lot lately are water features. You got to be careful though. You have to know the client's lifestyle with a water feature, because some of them can require quite a bit of maintenance, and you don't want a couple years later to have to deal with that. So
they're definitely beautiful, but they do require a lot of work, and so we really want to understand what the client is, what they're up for in terms of maintenance.
Right.
What else are you seeing?
Outdoor kitchens are very popular right now. I think people are starting to spend more time outside and almost have the patio as kind of an outdoor room extension of their house. So outdoor grills, seat walls to provide extra seating are very popular.
They're also good at giving intimacy to a big backyard. Wrapping a patio with a seat wall can create a more emotional place, a more secluded place, perhaps is the better word.
More intimate place, yeah. Another element that can contribute to that feeling is a wood structure, a pergola or an arbor, they're sometimes called. Kind of overhead shade structures that pretty much do the same thing.
And of course, we always try to include landscape lighting in every plan.
Absolutely.
And then also, one last thing to consider in terms of the design process is irrigation systems. We should add that it's at this time where we would design and implement the irrigation system to be with irrigation systems. We want to make sure that we're understanding what the clients, again, what their lifestyles are, what they need to water. It's not always beneficial to set up irrigation systems in plant beds. We want to know where they want the controller for ease of access. So there's quite a lot of details that go into this process.
Absolutely.
And but for the most part, it's a very enjoyable process, and we develop nice relationships with our clients over the course of 2 or 3 meetings. So Kyle, you've created a beautiful plan. the customer's happy, we've met their budget, we begin the process of implementing the project. Why don't you tell the viewer just exactly what services we provide and what services we may rely on others for?
Sure. The only services we would rely on other contractors for are wood, so that's any carpentry, pergolas, arbors, pools we do not do in-house, fences we do not do in-house, and asphalt. Electricity we do not deal with either, but we have many reliable subcontractors that we work closely with that can handle pretty much any situation.
So basically we handle the whole project with little help from outsiders for the most part.
Yeah.
We're doing 90% of the work, and we have a great staff that handles the project management. Kyle and I stay close to the clients throughout the process, making sure that everything is going just right. But it's pretty harmless, and we do love what we do.
Absolutely.
I'm Bret Achtenhagen, and I own Bret Achtenhagen's Seasonal Services. We're a full-service landscape contractor in southeastern Wisconsin. We provide all different types of landscaping services. Installation, we provide landscape maintenance, fertilization and weed control. We also provide ornamental tree and shrub care, and the list goes on and on. And our website, our website is a great place to learn more about these services. We have our website is broken down into a number of areas based on the types of services we provide. So there's an abundance of useful information on our website. You can get in touch with us by calling 262-392-3444, or you can visit us on our website at www.seasonalservices.com.